Hello, hello. I'm Bonnie Low-Kramen, your host for Heads Together, and I am here today with my assistant, Jennifer Wilner. Hello, Jen.
Hello, Bonnie. Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday from a chilly New Jersey.
Oh my gosh, and you're getting another snowstorm soon, we hear. Oh, let's hope it doesn't happen. We want to welcome you to the show today. Really excited about today's show. Every Wednesday, I always look forward to Wednesday. Although I'm really excited today for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is our very special guest. But I'm also excited because we were talking for the last few weeks about this TEDx event that I'm doing, this TEDx talk that I'm doing that last Thursday we recorded. Hello, Marion. Welcome to the show. Jen, you want to put up the graphic for the big TEDx event that we're doing on Saturday, February 5th. And the TEDx people are very busy sending us all the materials. Hi, Deborah. Welcome from Boston. Hope it's not so cold up there for you, but I fear it is. So this is the graphic they sent us yesterday. I'm top left. You see, I'm one of 12 speakers at this event on Feb 5th, and it was supposed to be live on January 22nd, but they turned the whole event virtual because of COVID, which is happening with so many events. So we all had to submit our recordings, and which I did. And hello, Stephanie, and hi, Julie. I hope you will consider listening to the whole show, watching the whole show on Saturday, Feb 5th. It's going to be really cool. Here are pictures of all the speakers for that day. Jen is going to put the link in the chat. It's going to be streamed on YouTube. No cost for any of this. And I'm going to be posting in the next few days more about it, but I hope you'll subscribe to the channel. The experience of recording was not an easy one. It took a whole day to record it in, what we made a studio in the house. And thank goodness for Robert's technology skills is all I have to say. But I have to say I am pleased with the results. And with this audience, I share with you just up to the minute information. And one of the pieces of up to the minute information is that I sent, of course, the recording to the TEDx people, and their response was that they are thrilled with the result. So I was very relieved and happy to get that piece of news. You do this stuff anyway. So that's it. You can take that down now. Thank you, Jen.
Got it.
So thank you, Susan and Debbie and Karen. Welcome. EJ, welcome to the show today. There will be more information about TEDx, but I don't want any more time to go by before I tell you about our special guest today. Anthony Barlow and I first met. He reminded me back in 2019 at the DEMA convention. And DEMA stands for Domestic Estate Managers Association, and it is no longer. But that organization is for private service professionals. And actually, I was a private service professional for a lot of years. That's how I identified as a personal assistant to a high net worth person. And so I am absolutely in that subset of assistants called private service professionals. And Anthony Barlow is in that camp. He is a very experienced estate manager, and he will tell you more about what an estate manager does. I was officially a household manager, and that tells you it's not 10,000 square feet. It was, it has to do with the size of the homes and multiple homes, and that they're just distinctions, right? Anthony was with us in Colorado Springs for Be the Ultimate Assistant in November, and it was a delight having him with us. And he shared so many wonderful ideas that I remember thinking then that he should be a guest on Heads Together, and thankfully he said yes. So let me tell you a bit about him. He's the youngest of 7 kids, and Jen, just quickly put up the picture of Anthony as a little kid. I just have to share this with you. Welcome to everybody into the show. This is Anthony. This is what he looked like as a little kid. I'm pretty sure he doesn't know how old he was, but I think he was probably under 1 there.
Can we all just give him an awe?
Yeah, just a collective awe. All right, I'm going to tell you about him. And of course, you saw his headshot in the promo. He is a former collegiate athlete, basketball, and an accomplished leader. He probably played other sports as well. He's in LA today, where he's going to be doing his next gig of employment. Anthony specializes in managing complex estates for ultra high net worth families. And wow, is that a specialty? Let me tell you. Anthony has a Southern upbringing. He was brought up in Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, but then spent a lot of time in California. His professional experience, his upbringing and his professional experience as an estate manager form the perfect marriage, where his passion to serve is complemented by his addiction to learning and helping others. He's going to tell us more about it, but he believes that if you feel better, you will do better. And he absolutely walks that talk. Aside from creating highly efficient structures to ensure the residents in his care perform at optimal capacity, Anthony enjoys creating a healthy yet exciting workplace for his teams as well. And that, my friends, is an art. Can we please welcome to the show, to Heads Together, Anthony Barlow.
Hey, everyone.
Hi, Anthony.
That was an amazing introduction. Wow. I'm so humbled.
I'm so happy you're pleased by it.
I am. It means a lot coming from you. So thank you.
Well, you are so welcome. We're delighted to have you here. You have so much great stuff to share with us. Stephanie Hand from Chicago saying she's the oldest of 7 kids. So I suspect the two of you have a lot in common. What's the magic thing about 7? My gosh.
Robert's a lot of people's lucky numbers.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I can't have 7 kids myself, but 2.
Crazy. So there you are in LA. Parents are super excited because your parents are there.
Yes.
Right. And thanks, Jen. Jen's going to be helping us from behind the scenes. So this audience knows that while Anthony and I are talking, feel free to put your comments, your questions for him, because he is just a wealth of information armed with his sociology degree and his amazing experience. Susan is welcoming you to the show. Everybody is.
Thank you, Susan.
Before we jump into the questions, I love asking some quick rapid fire questions just so the audience gets to know you a little better, and me too. I just kind of love these. So you ready? You game?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay. All right. John Legend or Bruno Mars?
Ooh, that's a tough one. John Legend.
Okay.
I like both, but John Legend.
Yeah.
I have him on a lot of my playlists.
Gotcha. When you were a child, what did you think you were going to do when you grew up?
NBA. I knew I was going to the NBA. Told mom I was going to buy her house. Everything. I had it all mapped out.
Wow. Who's your favorite ball player?
Michael Jordan and LeBron James.
Yeah.
I like
Did you like Last Dance, the documentary about Jordan?
Loved it.
I loved it too.
Loved it.
Yeah. If you haven't seen the documentary about Michael Jordan, Last Dance, I loved how honest it was, right?
It was, it was beyond. I love Michael Jordan, but that made me fall in love with him all over again. He is
maniac.
maniac.
I loved that he didn't shy away from his flaws and, his dark side, right?
The one thing that really touched me was his vulnerability.
Mm,
When he got choked up, just about how
yeah,
competitive he was. That really, because he's known as just being a menace on the basketball court. He was
yeah,
tenacious. He eat, sleep, and breathe basketball, and he was the best at it. But he's not known to be, even in his personal life, the things that I hear about him, he's not known to be vulnerable. So seeing that,
no, right. Are you as competitive as him?
I can't say I'm competitive as him. Like
Yeah,
he's
he
coined the
he
fair
takes
trade,
it to a whole other level, I
whole
think.
nother level,
Yeah,
in everything,
yeah.
in everything.
It, if you love Michael Jordan or basketball at all, and I really actually love basketball. Favorite dessert?
Easy peach cobbler with ice cream.
Oh
Peach
no.
cobbler has to be warm though. Has to be warm.
So you're definitely giving away your Southern roots there.
Yes.
Peach,
Yes.
everything. If you could have only one book on a desert island, what would you choose?
Oh, that's a good one too. One book. The Gifts of Imperfections by Brene Brown. One of my favorite books.
Okay, love that. Write that
By
down,
the
folks.
way,
Yes.
I was introduced to her at a TED Talk. So congrats, and I want to give a special shout out to you for your TED Talk. That's huge. That's amazing.
Thank you. I'm super excited. It really is a bucket list item, and it's TEDx. It's not the big TED events, but it is the talk will live on the TED website. So
Exactly.
and I revealed, I am revealing, and I have shared with this audience what I'm talking about at TEDx. The topic is the real reasons people quit, as in their job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're definitely the person to talk to about that.
Yeah. Well, I feel like there's some things that need to be said, and right or wrong, I said them. BTUAers are not going to be surprised at what this talk is. What's the favorite app you have on your phone?
Favorite app? Oh man,
What
you have some good questions. I like a lot. I like Duolingo. That's what I'm currently learning Spanish on. I'm teaching myself.
Oh. Okay.
I also like Lightroom. Helps me edit my photos.
Interesting. Lightroom. Okay, so when we see your photos, they're edited.
They're edited. Yeah. I have to.
Oh, and Jen's
I'm not as beautiful as you, Bonnie. I'm not as beautiful as you,
hush.
so I have to.
And in a few minutes, Jen is going to be showing us some photos that you shared with us. Our audience are going to love those. Oh my God, these are action shots of Anthony all over the world. Favorite movie?
Pursuit of Happiness. Will Smith.
Love that.
Tearjerker.
Yep. Favorite beverage?
Sparkling water. I'm basic. I don't really drink juice.
Yeah, it's so healthy, right? Yeah. Do you ever drink alcohol?
On occasion outside of the country. You have to be festive. You have to immerse yourself in the culture.
Last thing you binged watched?
There was this really good show called Stay Close on Netflix. I just finished it a week or two ago. It was pretty good. Stay Close.
Stay Close?
Mm-hmm.
Would we know who's in it?
No names that I recognized.
Stay Close.
Stay Close. It's really good though.
Check it out.
Ozarks is also a good one.
Which one?
The Ozarks.
The Ozarks.
Yeah.
That one is a little too violent for me, but
that it is.
Tell us one surprising thing that's not on your LinkedIn profile.
That's not on my LinkedIn. Actually, it's the photos that I share. I'm extremely adventurous. Like I'm an enthusiast. Any chance I get, I'm outside.
And then last question of this type. In your work, what's your superpower? What's that SME? You know how at BTUA we talk about subject matter expertise. What's your superpower?
I would say cultivating leaders, developing people, cultivating leaders. Those are my two things, personally and professionally, that people lean on me for. So,
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. You have worked in private service for a long time. Mainly in California, but other states too. Can you pull back the curtain on your career journey, including what most people don't understand about this profession? They hear a state manager and not quite sure what that means. And, share with us, a defining moment or two that brought you to this moment in LA, about to start this new fabulous gig with a high net worth, high profile family? Take it away. Tell us, talk to us.
It's interesting because I never, private service is not something that's plastered on the billboards or even in the courses of a university.
Right.
So for me, I wanted to be a federal agent. I saw myself working for FBI, even applied for the FBI and the CIA. I wanted to be.
Before or after the NBA?
This was after I realized I wasn't going to the NBA. Like I wanted to go to the NBA, but once I realized it wasn't in my course.
Yeah.
Federal, I wanted to be a federal agent. So with that, I always had this affinity for just mentorship. And part of that is personal, just from the standpoint that my dad and I, we weren't close growing up. So I latched on to anyone who latched on to me, took me under their wing, showed me, and I'm talking about people like father figures or, older siblings and things of that nature. So I've always had a mentor of some sort. And fast forward to college, I had a collegiate mentor who introduced me to my professional mentor after college. Again, this guy, he showed me the business side of life, from credit to money management to time management, et cetera, et cetera. Over time, as his mentoree, he's a high profile person. I was very fortunate. So I was already under NDA. I never heard of NDA at this point. So I was under NDA and these things in his home, liaising with his staff. The thing that I was responsible for, he was, essentially grooming me to be his protege. And for me, I was doing personal assistant duties that I didn't know I was doing. For me, I was just saying thank you. So I'll pick up his dry cleaning, make reservations, grab a coffee or two. But it was just to say thank you because he was taking me under his wing, free of charge, and just investing his time.
How old were you?
This was fresh out of college. So I was 22, 23.
Yeah.
Sadly, or fortunately, however way you want to look at it, his personal assistant house manager left to do something in the arena of the arts. I want to say she partnered in an art gallery or some sort. So me being familiar with his operation and again doing, unbeknownst to me, personal assistant duties, he had me step in temporarily until he found her replacement. 2 weeks into me being the temporary solution, he called me into the office, played this huge prank on me, and offered me the job. And that was how I began my private services career almost 11 years ago. From there, I'm an athlete, so I always have to be the best. No matter what I do, I want to be the best.
Yeah.
So I sought out DEMA, sought out peers, did a lot of research, asked a lot of questions, and it just allowed me to grow over time.
Yeah.
I started as a personal assistant house manager, where I've now grown into an estate manager. The difference between, as you mentioned, a estate manager, and a lot of people have different definitions, but essentially the difference between a house manager and an estate manager is that typically an estate manager manages multiple residences across multiple regions. A house manager can essentially manage, let's say, 3 homes in LA, but some people may even classify that as an estate manager depending on the house size. So if it's 15,000 square feet plus or something like that, or a certain staff, then they may consider it a estate manager.
Right.
But essentially what that means is you have or at my level, you have an ultra high net worth principal or family. They have a staff across not only their primary residence, but also their secondary, the third and fourth and fifth homes and however many that they have. And my job is to manage all of that. So I manage the staff, I manage the operations, the logistics, everything to keep the home running so where the principals can just enjoy their lifestyle, as big and complex as it is. They're living in a 2-bedroom apartment where if something happens, it's already taken care of.
Yeah. What do you love so much about the work? You talk about it with such passion and love. What really jazzes you about it?
I love everything. I love everything. I was taught, you only know what you're exposed to. And obviously at this scale, you get exposed to so many things. And, early on in my career, being 22, fresh out of college, I was the typical broke college student, even though I was on scholarship. But when you get exposed to certain lavish lifestyles and experiences, you think that's cool. And I thought that was cool for a while, But when you get to see just how intentional certain principles are about quieting all the surrounding noise to spend time with their family, when you see um, how intentional people are about their careers pursuits, but also their personal pursuits, as far as maintaining, the busy schedule, but prioritizing their spouse or their children.
Mm,
It's just so beautiful. And for me, being a service professional there to give them that time back, it just makes me want to, I don't know, just do everything for them as a big family man myself. So if I can take care of a few things, a few projects or tasks, so this dad can spend more time with his daughter, it doesn't feel like work.
love that. Love it. So we know that the work you do is highly confidential and you
Yeah.
sign NDAs, the non-disclosure agreements. But is there any story that stands out from your career as either crazy or a highlight or fills that category like the category that's called you can't make this up. You just can't make this up.
Oh man, that's the world we live in.
Mm.
I have so many examples of that.
So is there one that instantly comes to mind that you can tell us without naming names, of course?
There's a couple I can share. Ooh.
Go ahead.
So
Go ahead,
one,
tell us.
there was a family that I worked for, extremely high turnover. I'm talking the one principal had 7 assistants in a year and a half. Lasting from the shortest lasted a day, the longest lasted a few months.
Yeah, I
And
suspect everyone on this call is nodding their heads right now, like, oh, I know who that is.
it was bad. They had 5 estate managers in 4 years. And all of this information was not disclosed to me during the hiring process, despite asking. So just keep that in your hat.
Okay.
And as the estate manager, essentially all the staff are my direct reports. So one of the assistants would come to me and he would say he was having panic attacks before showing to work. He would cry and things of that nature. And it was just mind blowing. I didn't really know what to do. So I thought I was like, I can't really, change the principle, but I can try to make work a little more exciting. On the contrary, there were other employees who thrived in the toxicity a little bit because they had been here for a longer time. And there's just things that just weren't right. For example, we had a laundry room and we had our security desk right outside the laundry room. And then my office was adjacent to that. So, staff would walk into the laundry room and there was a couple that worked on staff and they would be too close. They would be kissing. They would be doing inappropriate things for work, not to mention the gossip and other things. So me being the new guy, I wanted to build rapport and, kind of play it cool without, bringing organized chaos to chaos, which only leads to more chaos. So off the record, I told him, hey, we can't do that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Happened again and again. I told him a couple more times. At this point, now I have to establish, the human resources paper trail. So some people call it a verbal warning. I consider it a record of conversation, but I print it out. I get a copy, you get a copy. The outline of the conversation is there. We go through the outline together and we both sign it. And then it goes into your file digitally and hard copy. So, and that's just a verbal warning. So I did the verbal warning because they were touching and kissing on the clock, on property where staff can see it, which it made other people uncomfortable, which is technically sexual harassment. So having done this whole process, the principals thought that was an abuse of power. And I was just kind of like, what? Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That was one, and it became clear. That's just one example. Some of the other ones are a little more confidential, but it just
How long did you last?
I only lasted there 7 months. I had to get out. I had to get out of there.
So, but looking in the rearview mirror, were there things you would have done differently during the hiring process to, identify those red flags? Because we hear these stories all the time where someone says yes to the job thinking it was going to be one way and it turns out to be something completely different.
For me, I actually started doing things different. So, a lot of times as the candidate, no matter what industry we're in, we go into interviews like kind of scared, kind of like, okay, I'm here. Please give me an opportunity.
Yeah, grateful.
Right. I'm grateful.
And being grateful for the position as opposed to they'd be lucky to have me.
Exactly. That, and not in, there's definitely a fine line between confidence and the understanding of your self-worth and value. and arrogance. So never arrogance, but
Sure.
understanding that when it comes to your career, somewhere where you want to be long term, you have to interview your employer just as much as they're interviewing you. And
Definitely.
that means something different for everyone. For
Mhm.
me, I would like a healthy work environment. I would like, people that have, long tenors in that position or in that operation, which lets me know longevity is not something that you just talk about. It's something that you encourage and that you allow people to do over time within your care. This position, there was no one long term, no one longer than a year. Whereas the position I'm walking into, there's like 17 years, 14 years, etc.
Yeah.
Um,
But now you said you do things differently.
I ask a lot of questions. What's the turnover like? If I were to talk to one of your employees, what would they say about you? When you're upset, how do you handle your stress or your frustration?
Mm-hmm.
How much emphasis do you put on a healthy work-life balance? Because working in private service, I can't sacrifice my family to serve yours. Obviously, I prioritize yours during business hours, but what's the point of me having a family if I'm only gonna, serve yours? Because in this same operation that I described, it was a 24/7 mentality. I had to work holidays, I had to work through weekends, I had to work, 14-hour days. And it was just all again,
You don't do
that's
that anymore, right?
no, no,
No.
no.
We learn by burn. We learn
Yeah.
from these experiences. I, and you said you had another story too?
The other one was, I was offered a position. I accepted the position throughout my interview of that position. I was very transparent with them. I let them know I'm contracted to give 4 weeks notice, but because of the holiday season and part of my job being event planning for this specific family, I don't want to leave them high and dry. Reason being, holiday season are the times that you're looking forward to spending time with not only your immediate family, but your distant family and friends. So if I leave you high and dry and force all of those plans on you, that's going to be a stressful time as opposed to like a time where you can really lay back and enjoy. You're taking time off work to enjoy your family. So they were, oh, that's the right thing to do. We love it, et cetera, et cetera. I was very transparent with them throughout the process, let them know, hey, I'm looking for my replacement. It's my last day. Okay, fine. After I gave up my apartment because I was looking for, new housing, I had acquired new housing in this new area. After I found my replacement, they told me, hey, can you come right now? Actually, we can't wait until the time we agreed on. I said, well, no, like I've already made plans and, I've already, have a series of vendors on the other side of the country that I have to go meet with to close out certain accounts, et cetera, et cetera. And they were just like, you can't do anything. I was like, well, we already agreed upon, and I've been transparent throughout this whole process. Long story short, they rescinded my offer. Mind you, I had already given up everything for this family. And I've never heard of that. So essentially, they wanted me to drop my client high and dry after I told them I wanted to do the right thing by transitioning them out in a graceful way. Crazy.
Wow. How stressful was that on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being the most? How bad?
That was a 10.
That
was a 10.
10. And you're a pretty calm guy.
I'm very calm.
Yeah. I mean, we heard a lot from you in Colorado Springs, where we were, and I'm just so delighted, Anthony, that things got better from there. We learn from these experiences. They're cumulative. And let me ask you this, though. Do you, when you're interviewing the new principals, how do you address that whole abuse of power thing? You know how you were accused of abusing your power. What question do you ask to make sure that you understand the breadth and depth of your authority?
That's a really good question. I first try to like gain insight on their hierarchy. Is it a family office?
Yeah.
That oversees the HR? Will I be the person responsible for HR or a combination of the two? Because I've been in both shoes. I've been where I am the person and I've been where we had a family office. Yeah. I also try to understand just the health of the overall environment. You know what I mean? The way the principals think. Do they think in terms of a healthy individual or do they think in terms of an unhealthy individual? Because in that operation, everything that was politically correct and healthy, they thought was toxic and vice versa. So it's hard to gain like because I never, like, for me, it's when I think of that question, because I've never asked, I never want to come off as if I want to be powerful or have power over people. But
Right,
I
but
guess
we
just,
need to understand where our authority begins and
yeah,
ends, and I'm sure that was such a surprise to you to be
most
told,
surprising.
because to you it's a no-brainer, like that
No,
kind of behavior
no.
is, really demotivating for
Oh, absolutely.
others. Crazy. So let's
Absolutely.
talk about that. You had so much great stuff to say in Colorado Springs about the way you lead teams.
Mhm.
In fact, you had a quote that everybody was writing down, including me, and I think you know what I'm talking about. Can you share with our audience some of your top tips for leading teams and working successfully with others, especially in the environment we're in now, with a lot of people still working remotely and there's a lot of uncertainty because of COVID? What as you approach this new gig, what are some of your rock solid tenets for leading teams?
Number one thing, and this is for life, is relationship. It all starts with relationship. And I think the title, even today, is Connection Before Correction. So anytime I join a team, my number one goal is to establish rapport and relationship with each person individually. I want to establish that they're there for a reason. They've been there for a reason. I'm coming to their arena and I respect their expertise and the experience that they have thus far. Further, I want to figure out, how can I serve you? How can I help you? Despite me being, quote unquote, the leader, I don't like being called boss or any of that. And I established that too. Don't call me boss. Don't call me manager. Don't call me any of that. I'm your teammate, because I'm here to serve you, and we're here to serve each other, help each other. But the biggest thing for me that I've come to learn in estate management specifically is that, yes, I'm hired by the principal to serve the principal and look after their assets, their staff, and etc. But I thrive when I serve my team as well, when I make sure they're empowered, when I make sure they're supported, when I make sure they're seen, they're heard, when I make sure they have all the resources that they need to be successful, as well as additional education where they can grow with the time and with technology. So it's just about meeting people where they're at and then coming up with a collaborative plan to get them where they want to go or where we need them to go.
So for our audience, that connection before correction was what everybody was writing down. It's like, oh, that makes so much sense. Have you ever had one of your team come to you, Anthony, kind of not believing, like thinking you're kind of too good to be true? Like,
absolutely. So in that environment, honestly, and it was sad, in that environment that I told you with high turnover, because they had saw, at that point in time, 5 estate managers in 4 years, all those assistants, and everyone apparently goes in like, oh, we're going to turn it around. And they were just like, we've heard this song before, we're not going to do anything. And they weren't being negative. They were just saying the principals are set in their ways. They don't care about, healthy environment. They don't care about anything. They just want what they want. And sadly, that was true. What I was able to do in that difficult environment was make it exciting for the people that were there when I was there. Sad part was, as soon as I would leave residence to go to another residence, I would get a call, come back, please, like, that type of thing. But there were a lot of activities that I would do just to give them a reason to show up with joy.
Like what?
So for example, we had a basketball court in the driveway, as most residences do. So we had a basketball court. One day I pulled the staff outside and I said, hey, everybody gets one. I selected the distance that I thought was pretty hard, So I said, everybody gets one shot. If you make this shot, I'll do your duties. Any duty you assign, I'll do your duties. Housekeeper made the shot. The only one that made the shot outside of myself. So she assigned toilet cleaning for me. But things like that. And then like the staff, I always try to figure out who's the strong people. No matter what position, who's strong, who can I depend on when I'm not here?
Yeah. And
then I'll appoint those as my right hand, quote unquote, my leaders that I'll start grooming outside of the team grooming that we do.
Interesting.
So then,
did you learn that from basketball, or did you learn that from your sociology degree? Where'd that come from? The ability to identify who the strong ones are versus the not strong ones?
I think all of the above. All of the above.
Because in basketball, you have to do that too, right?
In basketball, you have to do that too.
Yeah.
And you have to know you have to know their strengths, their weaknesses, and not only their strengths and weaknesses, but their strengths and weaknesses on each at each position on the court. So
Yeah.
like for a center, you can't give him the ball at the 3-point line because he belongs under the basket and he may not be able to dribble. So giving him the ball on the 3-point line and he turns it over, even
Yeah.
though he turned it over, that's my fault, because I didn't know
So
his weaknesses.
go to the person where they have people where they do their best work, right?
Exactly.
And so, in the corporate world, we talk about having the person in the right seat.
Mhm.
The last 2 years have been quite something, with the
Absolutely.
pandemic. What's your point of view on self-care and mastering our mindset to stay sane and not succumb to depression and loneliness? And, what is I know you have a pretty strong point of view on this. So tell us what you're thinking.
I think it's priority, probably priority number one. Because before work, there's typically relationships, whether that's family or intimate. And if you're not at a place of peace and happiness within yourself, you won't be present or able to, be fulfilling in a relationship, let alone a career. So I think there has to be an intentional pursuit of you. And I'm speaking from experience because a few years back, 2017 to be specific, I went on that intentional pursuit myself. And like I was sharing with you off air, I wanted to know what really made me happy, outside of the political correct. Oh, I like to help people. I like to do that. And that's great, but that wasn't necessarily my truth from experience. That was my truth from what I wanted someone else to hear. So I went on an intentional pursuit of two things: to learn what truly made me happy and fulfilled me, and to face all my fears. So fast forward to like the workplace and COVID. Or actually, you can bring up some photos to show what my pursuit of happiness and
Yeah, let's
this is
take
my
a look
pursuit.
at them. Let's see how Anthony faced his fears. There's one particular photo that's okay. So tell us where these are.
So that's Marina Del Rey, California. Scared of skateboards, but I wanted to learn how to do it. And because I'm an avid snowboarder, which we can bring that picture up as well. Because I'm an avid snowboarder, they said skateboarding or longboarding can actually help in the dry season because it's similar technique. This is the Rocky Mountains, Breckenridge. We went on the backside to do a little backcountry snowboarding.
Mhm.
Love snowboarding, highly recommend it if you haven't done it. But this whole journey was started with this photo right here. This is 2017 in Miami. I jumped out of an airplane, never thought I would do it, but it became the springboard for my personal life and my professional life. And the reason I say that is this very thing right here, I was scared of for over 30 years. I was scared to jump out of a plane. And as you see in the photo, I had the time of my life. And for me, if I die today, I want to die knowing that I lived my life and that
Uh-huh.
it was impactful.
Yeah. Would you do
And
this again? Would you do this again?
I plan on it in a heartbeat.
But this was the only time so far you've done it.
This is the only time. This is my first time. And
And where were you? Sorry, did you say it? Where were
this
you?
is Miami.
Miami. Got it. So pretty.
But
all right. Then there's
I
another
realized
picture.
in this picture, it was fun. I realized, not in this picture, but I realized in this experience that I had been holding myself back from my potential, my joy, my happiness, and etc. So this was the springboard to get me to the next, okay, what am I capable of? What does fulfill me? What do I want to experience? Which you can, go into like the wake surfing, or the what other pictures did I see?
Go ahead, Jen. Bring them up. Anthony will.
The paddleboarding, just a lot of things that I grew up watching National Geographic, so there's sharks in that water.
Yeah.
So I never wanted to get in the water, and lo and behold, I started to swim.
Tell us about this. That does not look like the face of a happy man there.
Oh, that looks like the face of a man that's trying to float, and he's struggling. Some people just lay there and float. Like
those are what
my
animals?
head is too big or something.
What animals are those, Anthony?
Those are nurse sharks. They're my size too. I'll do it again though.
And you were not in mortal terror there or in danger?
I wasn't in danger. My fingers was. So they said keep your fingers above water because to get the nurse sharks where we were, they like chopped up little pieces of fish and threw them in the water. So anything that looked like that, the pieces of fish, like your fingers, they would bite them. So that was a combination of me trying to float and trying to save my fingers.
This is a crazy photo. Would you ever do this again?
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Has to be clear water though.
It has to.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was in the Bahamas?
That was in Exuma. Beautiful place.
Yeah.
This
And-
is Lake Tahoe.
And this was a fear?
This wasn't a fear. This was just me like now pushing the limits. I want to experience everything life has to offer, you know, and
Okay. Beautiful.
this is river rafting. This was a fear for sure.
Notice who's at the front of the raft.
Oh yeah, if you're gonna do it, you have to do it. You know, and I travel a lot. So typically I'm more out of my comfort zone when I'm traveling because I don't want to regret. I don't want to go home and regret like, oh, I wish I would have did that.
Yeah.
So I'm a little more ballsy when I'm on location. And this is beautiful Lake Tahoe, my second home. This was just fun because my buddy, so some of my friends, I'm now being an outdoor enthusiast. I've built my outdoor community. So they just introduced me to new, you know, activities, experiences, which is essentially over time, just to make it short. Since 2017, I've created the formula for my happiness specifically, which is healthy relationships plus healthy experiences equals my happiness. So if it's anything, I'm anything healthy, like consider me in. And that kind of, when you think about working a Monday through Friday, in some regards, a stressful job.
Yeah.
The phrase that I coined with my staff and that I live by is if you feel good, you do good. You know, and I always tell people this is a professional place. I can't help you feel good. You know what I mean? But I can encourage you to pursue your passions, your hobbies, your relationships in your personal life that make you feel good, that give you that recharge. So when you show up for work, you're ready to do good. You know what I mean?
Claudia wants to be you when she grows up.
No, be better than me. That's for sure.
And Terry was saying that she loves the reasons behind the experiences that you're going after, Anthony. You know, Anthony, it's anybody who knows private service knows that it can be a profession that really can eat you up. It can be really hard and be 24/7 and nonstop because these high net worth principals want what they want when they want them. So how do you marry those two ideas that you're in a very demanding profession and the people on your team are doing very demanding work? How do you navigate with the principals and making sure that everybody gets to come out whole in these?
I think it starts in the hiring process. You have to, you know, some people, they're so attracted to a salary or a certain location that once they get into that job, they recognize that it is 24/7 and they don't mean just being accessible via phone. They want you on site or whatever the case may be. So just, again, starting at that place, what makes you happy? You know, what truly fulfills you? Because money is always going to be fleeting. So it doesn't matter what the salary is. It's going to be fleeting. You're never going to get it.
Yeah.
You get the money, but you never get the fulfillment if that's what you're chasing, you know. But if you chase fulfillment, the money will come.
Do you think that's different for women versus men?
Ooh, see, I'm not a women expert, so I'm scared to speak on that subject.
Well, no, you've had women on your team versus men on your team. What's your, you know, if you don't want to answer, that's fine. But I just thought you might have a perspective on what's been your experience when women hear you talking like that versus men.
You know, it's interesting because I definitely believe there's a gap between women's compensation and male compensation. And I've had the honor, the privilege, the joy of working with some amazing women, you know, detail oriented, sharp, articulate, et cetera, et cetera. When they hear me speak, they're inspired and, you know, they're empowered and they feel motivated. But there is some doubt, you know, from the standpoint that if you see this in us, why doesn't anyone else? If you see this in us, why doesn't our pay reflect? You know, can we really grow into that? Not because we're not good enough, but
Yeah.
because, you know, you talk about, because I'll tell people, you know, at your skill level, you should be making this. You know, you're available to that. And they're just like, they don't believe it because, you know, they're conditioned to
Right.
think less.
So when you had that mentor, the high profile person years ago,
Mhm.
you know, who you ended up replacing the house manager who moved on to the art gallery, is that who taught you how to negotiate? Like we all learn it somewhere, somehow.
Mhm.
Who taught you to do it?
He taught me a bit, and then Christopher West. He was a mentor of mine as well. And he felt like he feels like he can't teach me anything else. So he does. We're like friends now, but he taught me a lot of negotiating as well. And then I would just say my growth and maturity, understanding my worth, doing my
Yeah.
research on the market, having peers that I can bounce ideas off of.
Right.
But it's just a combination of everything. Once you know your worth, once you see other compensation packages for the skills that you possess, it's hard to say I'm going to take $100,000 less or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. That what you just said is gold. And there's still too much reluctance to really take in what people are worth, whether they're in the corporate space or private space, and then to understand how to go after it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think that's a real service that you're doing.
Last thing I'll say on that is fear.
Go ahead.
You know, fear.
Take it away.
And when I say fear, sometimes we get offered a job and it may not be what we want, but certain people may accept it. They won't counter, you know, and counter with justifiable or quantifiables, you know. When in actuality, oftentimes the principals want you to counter. They're coming in at a certain number, but that's not the definitive number. You know, I've even had to negotiate my title and they change it. You know, they send me an offer letter with a certain title. I don't want it. Can you change that? And obviously it's the proper verbiage, it's the proper grace.
Right. Yeah.
But once you do it, okay, this person knows what he wants. He knows, you know, what he's capable of. They'll hand it to you. If they don't meet you at your specific terms, at least they'll come up. But, you know, don't be afraid to stand in your power.
I mean, I'll never forget the corporate executive who said to me that when an assistant asks for training dollars, he intentionally does not say yes the first time. He wants an assistant to ask a second time because then he knows that he or she really wants it. And that was interesting. And I share that with as many assistants as I can. It's a tactic. And what what I think I hear you saying is that with high net worth people, that you negotiating, they want you to negotiate because they use it as an example of how will you negotiate on their behalf.
Exactly.
Is that accurate?
That's 100% accurate.
Yeah.
That's 100%. And I love that example that you use because when you present something one time, it may be an idea. Hey, Bonnie told me this. I want to do that.
Anthony froze.
Oh, no.
Hopefully his Wi-Fi will come back. Anthony, if you can hear me,
I can
sometimes
hear
you
you.
have to stop the transmission and go out of the meeting and come back into the meeting. Oh, there you are. You're back.
Oh,
You
wow.
froze.
I don't know what's going on.
No, you froze there for a sec. I think
Oh.
the Wi-Fi must have frozen. So
Possibly.
you were agreeing that you were liking the example I gave about the principal and the whole thing about asking twice. Why? We
Because
missed why.
when you present an idea one time, it comes across as an idea. Or when you present something one time, it comes across as an idea. Hey, Bonnie said I should do this. We should do it. When you follow up a time, twice or three times, it's now something that you're passionate about, that you're aware of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now they have a little more leverage to say, okay, let me listen to what you're saying. Because oftentimes execs and principals, they don't listen, they don't read, they want you to write all these things, and they might read 2 sentences. So we have to figure out their language. In private life, you figure out a person's love language.
Yeah,
and you communicate through that.
absolutely.
In
Yeah.
professional life, you have to communicate professional languages.
So when you're looking ahead at 2022 in the landscape of private service, what worries you and what's exciting to you as you're looking ahead and, as we are dealing with this Omicron variant and how life is proceeding? Where 2 years ago, we didn't think we'd be still dealing with this in 2022, but not only the pandemic, I'm asking you about, like, what are you seeing that is kind of, capturing your imagination about the world?
Uh, I may be strange, but I'm excited about a lot of things. I'm a very optimistic person by nature, but I'm really excited about the number one, the resources that are becoming more and more readily available, from BTUA to Private Service Alliance, which both you and I are on the board of.
Yep.
They're just starting to be like information, resources, and assistance is starting to become so readily available in contrast to when I first started, where I couldn't find anything.
Or
you know?
me. Yeah, I agree. It's amazing the difference
Mm.
now, for sure.
I like even the state managers conference that we're both at. Like those things are things that I had to dig, and Starkey and Charles McPherson was the only thing I heard of. But
Mhm.
I couldn't get off work for 4 months and paid 12,000. Could pay 12,000, but I couldn't get off for 4 weeks to take a course. So even that wasn't realistic. So I'm really excited that the community of private service professionals is starting to unite across the nation. For me, that's beautiful. From your workshop and all the other, resources that we have,
Yeah.
New York Celebrity Assistants, the LA Assistants, Personal Assistant Network. There's just a lot of beautiful organizations that's making our large community that much more intimate, which
Yeah.
is beautiful. When we have a need, we can text it or email it and we get the response right away. So I'm really excited about that, especially as I tackle this new role that has me in a part of New York that I've never worked. But just knowing I have community of professionals
Yeah.
there, it just brings me peace.
Fantastic. And in fact, as we start heading towards wrapping up for today, both Anthony and I are speaking at a virtual conference this Saturday. It's called the Estate Managers Conference. It's a full day virtual conference. Jen is putting the link in the chat. It's $125 for the whole day. And Anthony, what are you going to be talking about on Saturday?
They have me in a few rooms. One room, I'll be speaking on leadership. Another room, I'll be speaking on the difference between leadership and management, because
Mm,
there is a difference.
mhm.
And
Yeah,
then I'll be sitting in on a couple panels.
cool. Well, I'm sitting in on yours, and I'm going to be
Likewise.
speaking about negotiating for the money you deserve
Mm.
and
Mm.
how training should be a part of every package for corporate assistants, for private service assistants. I just don't think it's an option anymore, that it needs to be a given. And I've been talking, there are going to be a lot of recruiters at this conference on Saturday. And as long as they let me talk about this stuff, I'm going to be pounding on that idea that recruiters need to be part of the solution here.
I
For
will
sure.
say on that note, that's another thing that I'm excited about, because I've started to see, and it could be potentially because we came at least briefly out of pandemic, although the new variants
Yeah, yeah.
are not looking that great. But there was a hiring frenzy over the past several months, and salaries were inflated as a result.
Yep.
Where recruiters, a lot of my recruiter friends were telling me that there were more jobs than people. So that,
I hear the same thing.
yeah.
I hear the same thing. Yeah.
Well, that's very exciting for potential, people who want to look to take that next step in their
Yeah.
career.
So, Anthony, you've already shared that you love the Brene Brown book. Is there any other leader book resource that you would point our audience to if they're, looking to open their minds to some new ideas about leadership and management and life?
Mentorship. I definitely would, when it comes to leading, You know, the best leaders are the best servers, you know. And if for me, I was taught, like, if I want to be a great leader, I need to humble myself and ask for, you know, mentorship under a leader that I admire. For me, my most recent mentor that I just have the utmost admiration for is Julie after B2UA. So Julie's now my mentor. We meet monthly via Teams video call.
Wonderful. And that's Julie Kavanaugh. Julie
Julie.
Kavanaugh, big shout out. We love you, Julie.
Shout out, Julie, if you're watching. Thank you so much.
Julie's been a guest on Heads Together, talking about being a chief of staff. And so not only is she so talented, but she's so generous. And so mentorship, I second that one with you, Anthony, for sure. What else?
Mentorship, your course was amazing. I wouldn't have my mentor if it wasn't for your course. I wouldn't have this opportunity if it wasn't for your course. More than anything, I just wouldn't have this elevated confidence if it wasn't for your course. So workshops, you know, B2UA, I highly recommend it. I will be going back.
Isn't that great? You know, I think, you know, one of the themes through this whole show today, Anthony, I have goosebumps about it, that it seems to me that the theme here has been that we all stand on the shoulders of others, that none of us gets here alone. Nobody, you know, and we're fooling ourselves if we think that's true. And, you know, you talked about your mentors and how, you know, you happily fell into that position, but you proved yourself. You proved that you were worthy to do it. So it's, there's a lot to be said for seizing opportunities and to seek mentorship, perhaps in some unexpected places, right? That, you know,
one of my clients, he was, and just for context, he's a billionaire, and we were close. I became like his confidant, and you know, he would take me to the games. He had courtside tickets and all this stuff, so I'll go to the games with him. On the way back from one particular game, we started talking on a personal level. So I was just kind of like, what was it like when you know, most people I know, they want to be a millionaire. What was it like when you crossed the billionaire threshold? Wow. He changed the subject. He said, honestly, I didn't get here because of what I know. He was like, I arrived at where I'm at because of my ongoing pursuit of what I don't know. So for me, mentorship, seeking peer groups, you know, educating yourself, you know, working for the job that you want, not the job that you have. So for me, when I was a house manager, I was thinking and acting like a estate manager. So stepping into estate management was just like, okay, I've been doing it. Like, you know, like the systems that they use, I was already using them, et cetera, et cetera. So it's that type of mentality, which is all starting in humility, that really gets you to where you want to go. And there's always something to learn. Even if you just use one category, technology today is going to look different in 5 years.
Yep.
So there's always something to learn.
And so thankfully, Vicki Sokol-Evans is out there and doing her thing. And you have another mentor and friend on the call today, Bridget Hamilton. So we need to give a big shout out to Bridget.
Special shout out to Bridget and Julie. Again, just when I spoke earlier about the amazing women, I dare say, and no disrespect to my fellas, but I dare say some of my best relationships and my most inspiration comes from women in the industry. Bridget and Julie being two major players of that. So
great. Good. And me too.
And you, of course, you. Of course, you.
All right. Well, Anthony, we are at the pretty much at the hour. This has flown. The time has flown. I know our audience has gotten so much from this conversation. Do you have any last thoughts you want to share with our audience?
I would just want to say, highlight both you and I, if I can. Both you and I, because you're so accessible to me. If I need anything, I can call you, text you. I just want to extend the invite. You know, when I talked to Julie this morning, I've arrived, like the previous season of my career, it was about fit. I wanted to find the right fit. Graduated from there, and at this season of my career, I want impact. Like that's what I'm focused on. So I just want to serve any and everyone that I can. So if anyone needs anything, a resource, advice, support, encouragement, feel free to email me. I'm available because I just want to serve other people. That's it.
Oh, isn't that great? So would it be best if people reached out to you on LinkedIn? Is that good?
Yeah, LinkedIn is great too.
Anthony Barlow on LinkedIn. Anthony, thank you so much for saying yes and for being here. I hope you'll come back because I think we're not done talking here.
Oh, no, we have a lot to cover.
Jen, thanks for helping us from behind the scenes. And to our audience, thank you for being here. We will be here next week, Wednesday, which is 3 days before the TEDx talk, which is so crazy. Woohoo! It's exciting. I hope you'll go to my website, bonnielowkramen.com, to check out the free resources and workshops. It's all about providing value, and it is an exciting time for our ability to share information with one another. So if you're in private service, check out the conference this weekend. And Anthony and I are both on the board of Private Service Alliance, privateservicealliance.com, another fabulous resource for private service. So thank you all for being here and wishing you a great week. Thanks again, Anthony.
Everyone.
Bye.